What's going on, fellow foodies? Nick Wong-Kwo here, and today we're brewing beer. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Nick. I'm making food-oriented videos all about foodie culture, foodie life. Sometimes we're going to go to restaurants, sometimes we're going to make it at home, and sometimes, hopefully, we're going to be interviewing some of the cool people behind all of the things that we love to put into our bodies via our mouths. Maybe we should figure that out a little better, that tagline there. Today is going to be a super special episode because this is the first time that I am leveling up my brew game. Normally, I brew 1 gallon batches, courtesy of a Brooklyn brew shop brew kit that I got last year. This time round, I've leveled up my game to 2 gallons, double output. And what I've done is I've taken this Canadian Tire 2 gallon food safe bucket here, and I've converted it into a fermenter. For those of you who are new to the homebrew game, it takes roughly the same amount of time to brew a 1 gallon, a 2 gallon, a 5 gallon batch. So I'm excited to see what the finished product is going to be. Now, speaking of the product, we're going to be making a saison, which is a traditional Belgian farmhouse style that was traditionally brewed to quench the thirst of farmhands working the fields in the summertime without getting them too wasted. So it was typically around 3.5% to 4% alcohol by volume. It was not so bitter, but it's gonna attenuate very dry. So you might notice the hops more so than another style of beer that has a similar IBU. So there's a couple reasons why I chose to brew a saison. 1, love the taste. 2, it's one of the few styles of beer that my wife Kim will willingly drink. And 3, saison yeast ferment in nice hot temperatures. We're talking all the way up to 28 degrees Celsius. I don't have temperature control for my fermentation in my house. It's a smaller apartment. There's no space to put a second fridge, plug in a temperature control, and lager, which is typically around 10 degrees Celsius. It's very cold. I'm going to skirt around this problem by brewing seasonally. We're going to be brewing saisons all throughout the summertime, and then when we start to switch into fall and winter, when my house gets a little colder, we're going to start to brew ales, porters, maybe kind of go into lager-ish territory. So here's the barley that we're going to be using. We've got 1,400 grams of plain old 2 malt, and then we're going to add 100 grams of Cara Munich. To that, we're going to be adding a German Hallertau as our bittering hops. It's going to add a spicy, floral note to the beer without making it uber overpowered. So with that said, let's get going. Super crucial step number 1. Sanitation. All right, so we've got our temperature to 70 degrees Celsius, which is roughly where I want it to be. Take this mesh bag and use these clips that I have hanging around. These are just little alligator. We're brewing beer. All right, that's enough of that. Mix. And I see that it is time to get a new brew bag. All right. Now we're just going to cover the lid. The flame is off. In this case, I'm using induction too. And we're going to wrap it in an old blanket I have. And basically what that's going to do is keep the temperature relatively stable for an hour.
1 hour later.
The next step of this process is the boil, and this is one of those crucial steps where we basically bring our liquid all the way up to a hop break or a boil, and then we start to add our hops in a very defined schedule. So what we're doing is we're adding 7 grams of hops right at 60 minutes, another 7 grams of hops at 30 minutes, another 7 grams of hops at 15 minutes. And that altogether is going to give us an IBU of roughly 22, 23. Now it's time to add the hops. So I've got them pre-portioned in these tiny little ramekins, and in they go. I'm going to be bringing this into the kitchen for the final phase of our brewing process, which is going to be the chilling process. The way that I'm going to be doing it is the most cost-effective, lowest equipment intensity ever, and that's going to be putting it into a sink filled with water and a whole bunch of freezer packs. We're going to chill it all the way down to the right fermenting temperature, which is roughly 20 degrees Celsius. All right, change of plans. I was going to put the pot into my sink, filled it with water, put all of my ice cube, trays in there, put my pot in, and then realized that because of the amount of wort that I had collected in the pot, the water basically instantly rose to that temperature. There was not enough space there. So what I've done is I've actually moved it to my bathtub because there's a lot more volume of water to cool down the outside of my pot. I'm not gonna show you my bathtub because it's weird. So you're just gonna have to take my word that I filled up the bathtub, put the ice cubes in it, and now it's soaking there like it was just abducted and I stole its kidneys. I'll see you guys in about 40 minutes. That's about how long it's going to take for me to cool down this wort, and then finally we're gonna pitch the yeast, and that's kind of the fun part. All right, see you there. Alright guys, that's it for today's brew day. The fermenter is now sitting somewhere in my office where it's cool and dark. It's gonna sit there undisturbed for about 2 weeks, and then I'm going to check to see what the gravity reading is. Today's gravity reading was 1.048, which basically means that if all things go as planned, we're going to get a beer that's roughly 5% alcohol. The next time I see you guys, we're going to be bottling the beer. I'll see you then. All right, friends. I decided to contain today's video to just the brew day. If you want to find out what happens to the beer and how it actually tastes, you should consider hitting that subscribe button. And if you thought this video was cool or informative, hit that like button. It costs nothing to you, but it means a whole lot to me, especially when I'm starting this channel out. I'm making new foodie content and releasing at least one video every week, so I hope to see you there for the next one. Until then, stay hungry.